got the best of us, so we were unable to display in the room, but we will share on the video on Zoom. We'll share the file that we have. And anybody that needs a copy in the room here, we have copies of at least the first 12 pages of the Excel spreadsheet we'll be reviewing. Sorry. Technology. We're going to call the meeting to order at 4:10 p.m. This is the Finance Committee, March 15th, 2022. And for the members present, we need a roll call vote, please. Our roll call.
Mark Hussey, present.
Sam Grant, present.
Don Hayes, present.
Andrea Wood, present.
With that, we have a quorum for the Finance Committee, so we are recording this meeting, and it is being streamed on Channel 9 at the same time. Next item, 1.4, additions and deletions. I did need to modify, and we have one addition to the agenda and one deletion. We're going to remove the review minutes in section 2, and in section 3, the work session, we have added the water department budget. We have department head here in the room with us. Okay. Any other additions or deletions from the committee?
I have none.
Okay, none being heard, we'll move into meeting business and just jump to the work session, and the water department budget is the first item on the agenda that we have. Dave, and I apologize. Is it, how do you pronounce your last name?
Bijon.
Bijon, okay. I should have known from hockey, but so welcome. So we have Dave in the room with us, and it's not usually your budget. We usually do a transfer for your individual budget. It's the is it the capital pieces you want to talk, or you want to talk the regular?
Well, I'm not. You asked me, yeah, so I'm not sure what you're looking for. I have the warrant articles. It has the number.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So. Okay, so we, I guess you can pass them out here, and we can get them to the other
one
members.
copy
Yeah.
which is the warrant articles.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to read it.
Thank you.
We did some adjustments, and the one warrant article for the water department has changed. It went down a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so for the committee, since we don't have this as a file to share, I'll read it. There's 3 warrant articles for the water department. First, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of money not to exceed $14,900,000. Be and hereby is appropriated to pay the costs for various, making various water system improvements, including but not limited to 1, the design and construction of a PFAS water treatment plant at the Harbor Trace well site, and 2, the design and construction of raw water transmission main between the Witches Brook well site and the Harbor Trace well site, and the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Water Commissioners, is hereby authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 24, section 7 and 8, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. All or any portion of this borrowing may be obtained through Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, to be identified as trust moving forward, the Board of Water Commissioners, the treasurer, and any other appropriate official of the town of Townsend are authorized to execute and deliver any and all agreements and other documents that may be required by the trust or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection in connection with any financing to be obtained through the trust. Any premium received upon sale of bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium added to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds may be applied to the payment of costs approved in this vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by like amount. That's a long one. But any questions for Dave regarding details of the amount? Yep.
One of the things they said is right now, it's being funded by the state revolving fund. If you want a copy of this, I'll leave it with you.
Okay.
To make.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we're fully funded by the Clean Water Act in the state revolving fund. Part of it mentioned that it could be reduced.
Yep.
The borrowing, we already got $2 million from the disadvantaged communities, and it looks like we're going to get another $3 million from another section. But it hasn't been really. We could get as much as nothing more, or we can get the whole thing paid for.
Yeah.
So we just don't know what that number is because they haven't announced it yet.
Yeah. And so because it's in limbo what we may get, you have to.
But we
This
have
is
to do it this way.
Yeah. This is the total cost of the project as it relates to those pieces, designing the water treatment plant, and hitting that. And I realize and I understand once we have a water treatment plant, there'll be ongoing costs associated with that, including labor to staff it and continue. It will be that again, because it's water department, labor comes out of the water department receipts.
Okay. But you are asking the town to appropriate money also, am I correct?
It's just the permission to
take the bond.
To accept the money from the state revolving fund.
Yeah.
And that number is flexible because it keep going down because of the Infrastructure Act, and it's already gone down $2 million
from the PFAS.
So we have to accept it for the not PFAS side, disadvantaged community.
Okay, disadvantaged
which is
community.
13.2%.
Okay, so there is quite a bit with it, but it's a big number we haven't seen.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that kind of number since we've looked at the whole town budget. So for a single line, it's pretty significant. But
Don't worry, it scares me every time I look at it.
but we have to, as a requirement and for the town, and like one of the biggest things is clean water. So we have to protect the water source, and Dave and I were discussing earlier with where we are with wells have gone down recently, or there were power outages that caused wells to go down and things. So Timberley Park is where I am, and
that's where the generators would come in place.
The generators are already in.
Oh, they are
in Timberley Park. That was something that I think was put in.
I need to give you a quick update for that for everybody. So right now, we have 5 wells. One biggest producing well is Harbor Trace, which supplies 42% of all water in the town. That's down, and that has a generator. Witches Brook has a generator, and right now with Harbor Trace being down, Witches Brook produces a little more than 50% of the water in the town. That has a generator. Main Street and Cross Street do not have generators. And this last week, a tree hit a pole at Witches Brook, tore the transformers down, and spilled 150 gallons of oil in the well. So those wells have been down for the past week.
Oil from the transformers?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we've been running at 25% capacity, and thank God this is the
Low use. We're not
low
water.
use.
Winter, yeah.
But if the power went out, the town's out of water. That's where.
Yeah.
That's why it's critical. That's why it was critical to get the generators, and why I think that the town for the ARPA money for it. So we're putting one in. So all our wells have generators, but we're still vulnerable because we're in a very bad position because most of our water is from Harbor Trace.
Right.
And if something happens with one of the wells, we're going to be, this summer we won't have water.
Right. So are they cleaning the oil? They must be cleaning
They
it.
took
Clean Harbors was
They
in.
took Clean Harbor. They took 65 cubic yards of dirt out.
Yeah.
And which is a big hole. So we're just waiting for testing to come back to be able to put them back on.
So goes our electric bill up, huh?
Yeah.
So that's why it's so critical to get the treatment plant back on.
Yeah.
Because the 2 Witches Brook wells will go into the treatment plant, and it'll be protected. So, and plus Harbor Trace. So that whole end of town will be filtered.
Yeah.
And of course, with the new Main Street well, which will be going on line in May, and that water's pristine because we push it way out into the woods.
Good. Yeah. So, well, thank you for that. Any questions, Chair?
Yeah, I have one question. It's back to the borrowing. Is the cost that the town, et cetera, that the treasurer puts in to do that borrowing, will that be charged against the water department?
Everything would be charged for the water. We are an enterprise fund, and everything comes out of the water department.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
The water department is an enterprise, so all funding will be isolated to the water department.
Right,
Yes, I know that. But
this is in regard. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yep. No. Sorry. It's kind of like it.
You're given a charge once or twice a year. I'm not sure. I think it's once a year to pay back the services that the town provides to the water department. Right. I wondered if this borrowing, the cost of this borrowing, not the physical cost, not the 14 million, but the treasurer's time and effort forth to that will be charged to you. If it will, and you haven't thought about it, you'd better check into your budget again to be sure that you're covered there.
We've already I put $60,000 more into the reimbursement. Because last year was 243 that we reimbursed the town.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's 300,000.
I see that, yeah, which is the warrant article 2
Right, so
that he has next.
That's all covered in there.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Franks, any question?
Thank you. And just once more around, I'll leave it in any further discussion on that, on the big warrant article. Next, warrant article number 2, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $1,488,660.28 from the Water Enterprise Fund revenues to operate the water department for fiscal year 2023, and in order to fund the cost of intermunicipal expenses at $300,000, the sum be appropriated to the general fund. So that's that 300, or take any other action there too. So that's the warrant article that we get to take the water department receipts, and that fund them and the municipal transfer. So it increased from 240 to 243 to 300. So an additional 57,000 this year. I guess the question that I would with that, is there a free cash amount in the water department? I just wonder how much is left in there.
156,000.
Okay, that's again, it's more a curiosity piece. We don't have any
That's
control
why I
of that.
limited everything to, there's only 2 smaller articles. I limited it because I don't want to go any lower.
I'm with you. And any little hiccup, if you have to do a clean harbor cleanup, and kind of like it's going to eat into those. Any questions on the second warrant article? We put in the amounts. Questions? Nothing from Sam. Andrew?
No, I'm fine. Thank you so far.
Okay.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, then moving on, the last capital articles. And I'm going to need a little help with the acronym HDPE.
High density plastic.
Extruder?
Right.
Okay.
We're moving away from the ductile and cast iron because the high density plastic doesn't have joints and it lasts a lot longer.
Okay. So
and it doesn't corrode because and all the new names will be that we install will be that.
Okay. I'm familiar with it. I was driving sections. They were rerunning the whole water main up in Hampton, New Hampshire, and it was running along the road before they then took it and buried it. So I've seen
it's much more efficient.
Do you fuse? Is that the stuff you fuse together?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a fusion machine.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
All right. Yeah. So there's.
But it actually is cheaper than high density plastic is cheaper than the
old cast iron.
Cast iron now, especially now you have to buy American.
Okay. Yeah.
So the prices are going through the roof, and not saying that it's a bad law. It's just that we can install a lot more pipe and save the town
More
a lot more.
That's got to be easy. It comes in, what's it come in a roll?
8-inch pipe that comes in sections.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
And then
But like 20-footers and.
You just fuse it together and you just bury the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's much easier to work with.
Right. So that's the first item. The second item is a 36-inch water printer scanner.
Right. We have a lot of old maps and everything. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. If I go and have them scanned out, then it'll be the cost of the machine. And then we have everything on a computer
Yeah.
and we can save the records.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's like D-size drawings or
Anything that's 36 inch,
Yeah.
it could be 36 by 5 feet.
Okay. Yeah.
Like anything's 36
I will.
inch wide,
Mm-hmm.
and we can we don't have to pay for copies.
Right.
If anyone needs a copy, we can print one out.
Yeah.
And then people can have it in the field. But right now, we have the maps, you can't bring them in the field.
Right. Yeah. You've got one map, can't print it. It's kind of like it.
Right.
It
So it makes
duplicates
the operation much more efficient
Sure.
and saves all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so those are two. Again, the HDPE pipe fusion machine at 25,000, and the 36-inch water is 10,000. Any outstanding questions or any questions need to be addressed?
No.
Dave? Okay. All sounds reasonable to everybody?
Yeah. It's water moving.
Okay. Well, any other questions for Dave while he's here with his budget, the water department in general?
No, I don't.
Okay. Nothing in the room. Andrew or Sam?
No,
Nope. Fine. Thank you.
I have. You want the? This
I think that's,
okay.
if you want
Okay.
it, it's yours.
We'll do. It's kind of like appreciate it. Okay. With no other questions for Dave, if you're all set.
Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. The updates, hearing about where we are with the water. It's kind of, it's as much as it is scary. It's kind of like you're doing a good job, and lots of work and going on. It's kind of like I say, I hear it constantly since with that transformer. So, yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Have a safe drive home. Okay. Moving on to the next piece that we have. This is usually where we get updates from Ross, and there are no updates this week. Ross is taking some time off, and so he'll be back next week. So in the meantime, sorry, just looking for my mouse, I didn't pull it out. Okay, so rather than look at the spreadsheets that we had, I forwarded out, and I'm sorry, you're in the audience here. I'm going to be looking at a file. I have copies here if you're interested in what we're sharing. And kind of. And I'm sorry, your name?
Cindy.
Cindy. Okay, Cindy. But I would have only been guessing. Okay, so what I had done is, let's see if I can hide some things so everybody sees it. So, is everybody seeing the spreadsheet?
Yes.
On my, okay. So this is the file that Ross had provided. I added in a few other columns in the beginning. I'll go and explain them afterwards, but what we're looking at is he had provided up through columns G and H, the fiscal year 2023, and what we had requested. And what I have tried to do is put together what projections would look like going forward so that we can compare what the budget's going to look like, and are we hitting the targets. So up on the top, I have a salary increase amount, and I have a cost. So lines that I would consider cost lines, I put them 2%. So what you see is in row 7, the town administrator amount. We have it allocated at 135 for fiscal year 23. With the 3% increase, it's going to go to the 139,050. Now this is where the hard copy goes away. If I make that 0% on the top, just as an example, it changes the 139 back to the 135. So what I've presented here is the ability to change a percentage at the top and see what the impact is all the way down. So in this case, I'm just working with the one salary line. If I bring it back to the 3%, it pops back.
So we can do this on the sheet?
We can do this live.
Ourselves, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can do this. You can do this live if you want to place some scenarios like a cost increase of 5% instead of 2.
Right.
So if I in cell L2, if I change the cost to 5%, we see that a line go up 5%. Instead of when it was at 2%, it was like 2040, and now it's at 21.
Same being going from salary increase from 3 to 2.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So that's and again, when we look at these, if we look behind the scenes at what is going on, if I click on the cell, it highlights we are with the formula, and it will tell us that we're taking the cell H7 and we're multiplying it by the percentage that we have up here highlighted in L2 and adding the value. So it's kind of like, so we're adding that percent increase, and that's how we come up with the number. Now, each line will generally have a formula on it. With some exceptions. And so I'm going to unhide everything. And this, so sorry, I just got to get the columns lined up. Point. So what I did to help me is each line in this Excel spreadsheet has been assigned. If it's a salary, I've assigned it as a salary line. The longevity, this went to a 0 amount, but longevity. So if I look at my list of designations, I have a cost line, I have debt lines, I have exclude, and basically the excludes are the subtotal lines, because if the subtotal lines went in here, it'd just kind of go crazy. So
the screen. I just noticed.
Wow. Okay. So we're back. It's kind of like
I just looked up and saw that.
Yeah. So we don't count these in the modeling that I was talking about. For longevity lines, what I did is I looked for everything that was longevity, and if we look, there is no formula in these cells. That's the change, sorry, because I unlocked everything. So if I go out to my calculation lines, there is no formula. We're just taking in the FY 2023 lines. So I expect there'll be some increase. But it generally, it's based on employees, so that there's a little bit more that we'd have to detail if we're going to do it. But with the lines, just so that we see. So we can see that there's no increase on the longevity lines. So if we want to get a little better modeling, we might do something where we add in. Cost lines, again, we can probably do a little bit more. Is every line within a particular budget? I did put in a line to identify whether it was Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, or what it was. And if we look at education, because I only had it as cost, it's only going with that 2% increase. And so if we want to try, I don't think schools are, and they also had debt in here, so it's kind of like, so I would more than likely think that changing this from saying cost line to an education cost line might be a better way to go and address those individually, because I don't think that it's going to be on a 2%. I don't think the school budgets are going to run at the same level as the other cost lines.
Mm-hmm.
But are there any pieces you want to look at individually? Now, and I'm gonna, Veronica's on the line, so what I did, and I've highlighted in yellow, these numbers may or may not be accurate. They were just something so that I could fill it in. So it's kind of like I need to go back to the ARPA sheets and look and see what we are. But what I did is these are actual operating expenses, as we talked about, but we've been putting them in as zero the whole. The net effect is going to be zero, but they are truly operating budget lines, and they help us as we get further on to understand what that budget line is going to be when we get to the fact that the ARPA funds have been exhausted and they are then totally hitting the town budget. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom. So you can shut your eyes. And then on line 835, and I'm sorry, Cindy, I only did 12 pages, so you don't have the bottom section, but kind of. So I put in the number, got the red little highlight in the corner. And so what I did is identified that the formula is, it's taking the outreach and the HR positions, it's their salary, it's using the figure of about $24,000 for the health insurance. And then also we had the $1,200 poll pads for town clerk elections was in there. So what I'm looking at is when we get to the funding sources and the money that we're having, and I haven't had that opportunity to validate all my numbers with what Ross has yet. But when we come down to this number, we'll be able to add in the capital plan, the payment method, and come down to a dollar figure of whether we're going to have balanced budget or not, or what the gap is going to be. So, and again, most of this is estimates, but I did put in a line so that we can see the ARPA funding and how it has and will support the town budget over the first few years. And then when that money expires, then we'll be picking up the total, and there won't be a number here that's helping us with the total receipts to pay the budget.
Yeah.
Don, Veronica has her hand up.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Veronica, I kind of, thank you. When I share my whole screen, I don't see the people on the line, so please, a voice interaction will be good.
Okay. Can I just say something? I see what you're doing. I think this is great. And I understand what you're doing with the ARPA funds. I think that's a good way to show that. On the human resources coordinator, the 80K, and I know you haven't gone back to look at the ARPA stuff.
Yep.
Make that equivalent to what you have for the community outreach coordinator.
Yeah.
It's not 80,000.
Okay. Yep. Is it the full? This is only I took this from the notes that Ross had. So this is the 56 that is not funded by the COA. So
right.
do you want it to be 66?
The community, no, not 66, because the human resources consultant is only a 30-hour week position, not a 40-hour week position.
Okay. So,
and the remaining 10 for the community outreach, 10K, comes
right.
out of the COA budget.
Yeah.
Okay. And our thought is over the years, more. I understand what you're doing here, and we did fully fund through ARPA, but our hope is that we would take 10K each year from the operating budget, 10K in FY24, then 20K, then 30.
Okay.
And ARPA reducing over that time, but we did set it aside. Anyway.
No. And that's the piece. I knew I needed to go back and
that's the reason for that. But anyway, the way you're doing it is fine. It just might not be exactly accurate for what's coming out of the ARPA versus the operating. But I guess it's a wash in the end anyway. So.
Yeah, and again, we can go over and validate what the ARPA numbers are, right. And make sure that what we're presenting match. And I guess while you're here and we're talking, and I only know the last title in the Council on Aging was kitchen assistant, and it's now changing description and the hours are changing.
No, I think there's a senior meals associate, which will only be in place during the time of ARPA funding. And that there is still a kitchen assistant, but for the 2 additional meals a week that are being funded by ARPA that will go away at the end of ARPA, there is a staff person that's being hired, and that's the senior meals associate, I think is what it's posted at right now on the website.
Yeah.
Can you go down to COA? I don't know if she put that in her budget. I can't remember. I don't think so.
We don't have necessarily. There wasn't a separate line.
Yeah, I don't think she put it at all on because it's not at all part of the operating budget. Yeah. Nor will it. The intent is that it won't be. That position will end at the end of ARPA.
Right.
Oh, she doesn't. She collects her operating staff. I see what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. And so in the books that we had prepared, they didn't have that position in there. So,
Right. No, it's not even, it's an invisible position as far as the operating budget goes.
yeah. So that one, maybe we do want it in there as a separate. Wow, that one's hard.
It's the intent is for it not to continue, or if it does continue, it has to be funded a different way, a grant or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So the 5665
Yeah.
in the selectmen's budget
Yeah.
includes the 10,000, or does
No,
not?
No.
So that actual number is 66.
Yes.
Correct.
What Mark said is correct.
Okay. And the human resource consultant is still going to be at 56.
Yes, because it's fewer hours.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were going to make the human resources part-time, non-benefited, but when we started writing the job description, it's more than a 20-hour, 19-hour-a-week position. So the other thing is that the community outreach coordinator, although in the end it doesn't matter, the benefits for that are already in the operating budget. It was what was going to be the assistant director at the senior center, and that position was never enacted.
Okay. Okay. So that, but is so that gets to the complete part of really getting to the health insurance and where it is, what the number is. I thought the discussion has been that both these positions, the health insurance is going to be paid by the opera funds, not.
For the human resources, yes. For the community outreach coordinator, that is already a staff position accounted for in the budget because it was a COA staff position that did not get filled. I'm hearing something else. I don't know if there's someone that's not muted.
So if you're not speaking, if you could put yourself on mute, appreciate it.
So in other words, we are not increasing by 2 the number of funded benefits. We're only increasing by 1 for these 2 positions.
Okay, we need to double check that. That's gone back and forth a couple of times. Right now, it was set as 1 for a potential ad for the fire department, not.
Oh yes, that's right.
Not 2. So I think we need, when Ross gets back, we'll have
That's because it's already in the budget. In other words, there is 1 person who's budgeted for FY22 for benefits through the Council on Aging.
Yep.
And that position was never hired. So that is already accounted for in the budget.
for
FY22. We are not adding another
Right.
benefited person, one other for the for one of these 2 positions. We are adding, but one of them is already in place in the budget. It was an unhired position.
Okay. Yeah. And I was going to say, overall, I'm not, okay. We'll look at that and see the numbers and get where we are. So the plan is not to use opera funds to pay for one of these, but pay for the other.
Correct.
Okay.
Human resources.
Yeah. So then that would be health insurance.
But you included that anyways, right?
Well, I included two because the note had said
Oh, I see.
it was only one.
Yeah.
So we're looking. One new benefited employee. And when I did my formula,
Plus the fire department.
yeah,
So
that would be 24.
Don,
Yeah.
I have a somewhat silly question.
Okay. That no questions are silly. It's kind of like I do things in spreadsheets and all of that. But
All right. If the one position benefits are already in the budget, couldn't we reduce the budget then by that amount and fund it from our funds?
then we're going to be back in the same position in 3 years.
Right.
yeah.
But we're going to, yes, but in 3 years, we still would be in the same position because we'd have the funds in the benefits and we wouldn't have the money to to hire the position. So what difference does it make?
What I'm getting from the conversation that we have right now is we need to take and understand exactly what the total is going to be for the health insurance for the town, what it includes, and if right now I'm looking at this and saying the number we can't see it because I changed it, but the number would be less than the 2,400. Let's see what. So it would, right now, the number that was in the budget was $898,168. By adding in the 24, I'm saying this, so this 898,000 is including the one new fire position.
Does it include also the position she said as well?
Well, that's question. It's a budget versus actual. So we need to take this number, go back and look at the actuals to see, are we not hitting the number that was in here for the 817.
Yeah.
So to show that, okay, we budgeted a person, and when we get to June, it would be about the 23,000. So are we going to hit 798 because we haven't been paying that position? So that's all it is with that. So it's kind of like, so it was funded in the 2023, never filled, which means we should be running. Our run rate should be less than the 817 that we budgeted for this fiscal year. Then when we get to next year, budgeted positions there, plus potentially two more. One's going to be paid by opera, and one would be fire department if we pay that, if that's the path forward. So I think we totally understand it. We need to look at where we are on the health, and it makes perfect sense that we should be running and not paying it. If we don't have an employee taking and using healthcare, we shouldn't be necessarily paying the bill for that number. So we'll take a look at that. Again, this was a shot to put this kind of view together. What I think we need to do with this is take a look at FY22 and see how we're running to what we had adjusted, and see if we can identify any potential areas that are cause for concern. Okay. Are there any questions about what I put together for this?
I guess I have one question, Dawn. Where did you get the number for the requested? I think the number that's in the budget is lower than that. Oh, no, no, I see. Okay, yeah, we're good. Sorry.
No. I got this number from the notes column, which is now hidden.
Yeah, okay, I'm good.
Yeah. So like I say, this is the first piece of it. If I look at, and again, we can throw all sorts of scenarios at this. I can with these two columns and what we're looking at, I can piece together some information where we can total up the salaries and
I can. The 3% increase is for this year, but after this year, it's going to be more likely 2% because that's the difference between the steps. The 3% is because we're increasing the matrix by 1%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
By contract.
Yep. And that's now that's the other piece. Thank you. It kind of we're probably going to go in here on the salary lines, and depending on where you are, if we talk police and fire, they may have contracts that are different than these rates, and so we will add a couple more lines, and we can have police,
a different variable for those. Yeah.
Right, and then fire salary.
Yep, that'll work.
And then once we have those, I go and make the adjustment over here.
I think this is great, Dawn. I really do.
It is.
Yeah. So like I say, it's kind of like, so we if we have them different, the lines will change. If it's rating staff, just to show. And so here the formula would end up if I have a police salary and I'm just throwing in a number to make it change. And so what I do is on the here, I have it and I need to change it to L3. And we have the increase and it's specific to the fire salary that we put. So if we had 3%, it's the 707. If we make it the 5%, so it's just formulas and it's just those pieces. So we can get our actual, and we can look at going forward, the actions we take today and what we're doing, how it has an impact, and it will look in the future. And are we going to be able to meet the commitments with the limitations of the 2.5 that we have? So that's all. It was, trying to plan it and look at it in a longer term piece. So, and again, the cost increases, we said 2% this year, but we know with inflation running at 8% is probably, we might want to break out fuel from office supply expenses. So we can build in all of those different things, put them in salaries, and then put different numbers in here, see what we're going to get from the results. So anyway, lots of work. I'm going to save all those changes that we put in because I think they're good going forward. That's the kind of thing that I wanted to look at. And like I say, education costs is probably going to be different. So we'll put that in there. Same. And I'll deal with, I don't think the debt changes. So we'll be able to, again, just try to manage it, throw some scenarios at it and see how it looks going forward once we have everything.
John?
Yeah. Yes, Andrea?
What would you call this sheet, this spreadsheet kind of thing you have here?
Let's see what I called it. I called it 5-year projections. Yeah. I suppose it's like when I do my personal budgets, I'm probably going out 2 years to see where things are. So I took that, what I do on my personal stuff, and so everything is projection because we don't know what the percentages are going to be. Are absolute sure. We're going to throw some numbers at it that we think are best guesses. Do we think it's going to be a 3 or 4% increase? Police and fire contracts, we know for 3 years what they're going to be. Beyond that, we don't necessarily know. So when you do FY24 and 25, you have the current contract. When you get out to 26, 27, maybe that can be used as part of a negotiation tool that says this is what we can squeeze in, this is what we have available as they negotiate contract. And again, it's only formulas, so you can keep on taking these, adding columns to it, and maybe it's something, if we find it's a useful tool, we can continue using it in the future.
Useful for me.
It really looks great.
So that was a bit of my week, other than painting my house, the inside.
I was going to say outside.
Not yet. Oh, one day.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. It's a lot to chew on, I think. I wanted to take today and really introduce this the best, a little bit more for what we're looking at, and see if it makes sense if we want to invest some more time into it to try to make it better. And again, as I'm going to scroll down the bottom, and I know it's a eyesore every time we do it, but when we start getting into what's the income, what are the funds that we're going to use to support the budget, the capital plan, and then start getting down to the real nitty gritty and adding in the shortfalls or anything else if we, or is there something that we're running at a, below the budget's below revenues, and we can take some and put it into a reserve account or a little bit more free cash. so that we get those ideas. So, okay, so I'm sort of dead air there with me. Any other questions? Or do you want to take the file and look at it, and then we come back again next week, spend some more time on it? I know I have some more work to do. Like I say, I have to fill in the lines down here as we're doing those pieces. And I guess when I get to looking at some of these other expenses, I just want to make sure that we are allocating the right amount. The right amount. So it looks like we're going pretty significantly higher. So it looks like we haven't included all those new positions in those. Health insurance was the retirement fund, just to make sure that the retirement fund is going to be fully. The amount here represents all of the lines that we're paying out of the operating budget and people that are eligible for the retirement system.
Don, does it include, we've hired people who are retired, and then we pay, like the police chief who retired, and now we're responsible for the years of work that he spends with us towards his total retirement pay. Is that figured in there?
It's an area that I'm not familiar with, so I would have to probably talk to Terry and see.
Okay.
How is it calculated? It's calculated off past earnings when they were employees, or is it based on the people that are drawing from the retirement fund? I would suspect that it's based on the current salary amounts that we're paying in, but I don't know for sure. So
okay.
That's a follow-up for me. Okay. I didn't. Let's see. Okay. I didn't have anything else to go on the workbook, so I'm going to close that section of the agenda out, unless there one final time around. Mark, any other questions?
No, I'm good. I agree. That's a wonderful sheet. It really is scary but wonderful.
Yeah, I was gonna say this isn't even. Yeah, it's kind of like it's a start. I tried to keep it not some of the complex formulas and other tools that are here. Try to keep it in more to the novice and mid user rather than advanced or any of that.
I think it's great too, because it makes you look at the budget with continuity. You can think along. It's just grand.
Okay, then we'll continue to improve and add and get a little more granular on the data, and see how it will help us move forward. So what we have when originally requested, TCAM had us at 12 weeks. We have 2 more weeks of these Tuesday meetings scheduled, which takes us just about to the time where the warrant needs to close. Should we have a few more meetings or go to every other week at that point, because I don't know that the budget's going to finalize until we're at town meeting and all the warrant articles are passed and all that. So, but I don't think we're going to be at a point where we need weekly meetings after that. So maybe 2 in April, and as we prepare the town meeting. How do other people feel? Do you want to keep going? Do I book a weekly meeting and cancel when we don't need?
I thought that's how we set it up in the beginning. Just, schedule every day or whatever, every Tuesday, and then cancel when we don't need one. I'm going to be following all of you. You're doing a great job leading us in the direction I can actually read. So I'll follow where you want to go.
Okay, then I'll do that. I'll request four more through April, and if we don't use them, we'll do that. We'll discuss, do we need it, be one next week, and move it. So it'll be reserved for us and ready to go. Yeah. Question, it's kind of like, should we think about having a budget open meeting where we invite town members and discuss it rather before, sometime in April, before town meeting, so that they've got a primer on what it is and they're not trying to digest the $25 million budget in 10 minutes as we present it on town hall at the town meeting. I don't know if it's been done before, but it was just something I thought of. It. A well-informed public might make getting a budget through at town meeting a little easier.
I think that's a good idea. One of the things, though, too, is that if we do it on Zoom, people who can't attend can still access it and learn that way. So I think it's very good.
Okay, and then we could record it and put it on Channel 9. Okay, then I'll work on a date and present something. It's kind of like I say, it's kind of like the budget is not solid until we get that last minute stuff and everything passed. And I know we've talked about, we're going to have the calculators out at town meeting just to try to get the absolute numbers that we're feeding into some of the lines. So we'll do that. I'd probably target mid-April, so we'll go after taxes are due. So sometime mid-April after taxes are due for everybody. And I don't know, does it make sense for Thursday night? Okay, so I'll have a couple of dates next week. It could be a Saturday, but usually people are starting to get busy on Saturday mornings and things. So we'll see. But to your point,
we'll get the turnout on Saturday. There's more people that are not working on a Saturday. So we'll pick from a short list of dates and then try to set it up and make arrangements. Actually, I don't know if you understood what I said. I don't think we should do a Saturday.
Oh, we don't think
most people wouldn't show up
because
good weather's coming.
Good weather's coming,
and I could be wrong.
Yeah, no. I think that's always been the discussion is we're working all week and that's our day to baseball's out, soccer's out, lacrosse is going. It's kind of like all of those things are going. So the Thursday night might be a better plan. So okay, so we'll schedule one of those and try to have that, and hopefully we can work to getting this done.
Sounds good.
Okay, then I don't have anything else.
I have one other thing.
Yep, that's the roundtable. Yep.
I talked to Carrie today, and she said we should expect a reserve fund transfer for MIS. They are short again. I checked the mail. It hasn't come yet. but perhaps you should put it on the next agenda because maybe it will come in between now and then.
Okay, we'll do that. Another MIS. Okay. And I know we haven't, there are, that MIS is one of the unfinalized budget numbers yet. So we'll work towards that. Sam, anything, I'm sorry, Andrea, anything else in addition to that?
No, that's all.
Thank you. Sam, anything you want to?
No, I've heard everything I needed to learn and helped to where I needed to, and I didn't have to. You're doing a great job. I'm pleased.
Just keep on boosting the ego and get me to do everything.
I do a little Excel, but basically kindergarten Excel. Your work is fantastic. It's helped by watching it. I've got it on my other computer here, the one that doesn't go into the outside world. And you've done, and plus the one that you sent me on the second screen to the left, and looking at them all together, it's a lot easier to follow what those numbers mean. They stop becoming numbers and start becoming something that I can understand.
Information, not numbers. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you. And then Mark?
I am all.
Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at.
I got 5:20.
5:20.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Mark
Andrea
Hussey.
Wood, yes.
Mark Hussey,
Dan Grant, yes.
Don Hayes, yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.